A medieval knight has won a battle, and his people welcome him with applause and flower petals. Everyone looks at him, everyone celebrates his triumph, yet he is not looking at anyone. His attention seems to be drawn elsewhere. If we pause for a moment to study the details of this painting, we notice something on the right side that goes almost completely unnoticed at first glance. Hidden in the shadows, a crucifix rises among the crowd. Christ is there, silent, ignored by everyone, except the knight. This detail completely changes the meaning of the painting. We are no longer looking at a glorious medieval parade, but at a disturbing reflection on the fleeting nature of victory and the contrast between human power and eternity. A message that, 120 years after it was painted, we need to understand more than ever. To understand this work, we must place ourselves in the year 1900, in the final days of the Victorian era. At that time, the United Kingdom was a global power, proud of its past and obsessed with gazing into the mirror of history. And, curiously, one of the periods that most fascinated the Victorians was not their own, but the Middle Ages. Castles, crusades, and knights in shining armor functioned as a cultural myth. It was a way of imagining a glorious past that, for the British, connected with the idea of a strong, noble, and Christian nation. Something quite similar to what we do today with superheroes. Even knowing they are not real, we like to see them as symbols of values, role models, and even aspirations of what we wish to become. Frank Dicksee painted the two crowns in the midst of that atmosphere, and what we see in this painting is not a historical event. There is no specific battle behind the scene, nor a knight whose name we can identify. In truth, it was the artist's invention, a medieval fantasy that reflects the values of 1900 far more than those of the Middle Ages themselves. Now that we understand the context in which it was created, let us turn to the painting itself. One important detail to keep in mind is that this canvas measures more than 2 meters in height and almost 2 meters in width. It is a monumental oil painting, so large that you cannot take it in at a single glance. That scale is part of what makes it so striking. This is not a work to be glanced at casually, but one that demands you stop and feel as though you are inside it. At the center, dominating the entire composition, we find a knight mounted on a white steed that seems to shine with its own light. His armor catches every glimmer, as though it were designed to dazzle anyone who looks upon him. Around him, the atmosphere is festive. Ladies scatter flower petals that float through the air, the crowd presses together to watch him pass, and everything conveys the sense of a hero returning from victory. The scene is so vibrant that we can almost hear the cheers and feel the movement of the procession. The color palette also reinforces this sensation. The warm tones of the dresses, the vivid reds, the golden hues, all stand in contrast with the pure white of the horse and the metallic gleam of the armor. It is a visual explosion that evokes celebration, pride, and a moment where earthly glory seems to reach its peak. On a superficial reading, one might say this is an exaltation of victory and power, a near cinematic image that could easily be interpreted as a tribute to the grandeur of medieval chivalry. And yet, as I hinted earlier, its meaning goes far beyond that. While everything seems to shine, on the right side, hidden in the shadows, there is something almost no one notices at first glance. Looking closely, we see a dark silhouette rising among the crowd. It is a crucifix. Christ is there, nailed to the cross, the crown of thorns upon his head. No one in the crowd seems to look at him. No one, except the knight, who turns his gaze in that direction. Suddenly, the title of the work takes on an entirely different meaning. The two crowns. We are no longer only facing the golden crown that symbolizes power and victory. There is also the other crown, the crown of thorns with which Jesus was crucified, a symbol of sacrifice and eternity. And the knight seems aware of this duality. While everyone celebrates him, his gaze is not on the crowd nor on his triumph, but on the crucifix. It is as if, in the midst of the clamor, he knows that his glory is fleeting, that no matter how dazzling the armor may be, it will one day rust, and that compared to eternity, human victory lasts only an instant. In Victorian England, humility before God was an essential value, and Dicksee shows us the night as a reminder that even at the highest moment, man must acknowledge that there is something above him. And if you think about it, it's not so different from what we experience today. I'm sure at some point in your life, you've had a promotion, won an award, or reached a personal goal, and in that very moment you felt that, although it mattered, there are still greater things beyond your control. That is the true message of this painting. As expected, when this painting was first presented, it did not go unnoticed. It was celebrated as one of Frank Dicksee's most accomplished works and soon entered a British public collection. Today, it hangs in Tate Britain in London, regarded as a clear example of Victorian art, combining the great technical virtuosity of the era with a direct moral message. The true brilliance of this painting, in my opinion, lies in the way it forces the viewer to look at it twice. Its title is somewhat confusing without prior explanation. The first glance lingers on the triumphant parade, the armor, the petals. The second draws you into the shadow, to the crucifix, and to the other crown. That double glance is precisely the kind of experience museums value in this work. A lesson in visual reading, where a hidden detail redefines the meaning of the entire canvas. For some time now, I've been studying artists from this era and their fascination with the Middle Ages. In fact, I've found many other paintings I'd love to bring to the channel and analyze together with you. So, if you'd like me to cover more themes like this in the future, support this video by giving it a like and leaving a comment, and I'll bring it to the channel soon. As always, I'd also love to read your interpretation of this painting, and if you think there's any detail I might have missed, feel free to share it in the comments as well. In the link in the description, you can purchase this artwork if you'd like to have it in your collection. Shipping is completely free worldwide, and just like in the video you're watching right now, you can turn your home into your own museum. By purchasing from the store, you'll be supporting me, and you'll also receive a reproduction as faithful as possible to the original painting. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.